Fletcher Fox here, and welcome to my kitchen. This is kind of an experimental series. I have never been a cooking channel, and I've never done a cooking video on my channel, but I figured, hey, why not give it a shot? So today, I'm going to be baking bread. I'm not like an expert on baking bread or anything, so this is kind of going to be an experiment. And I figured I'm going to make some sort of cheesy herb bread because I can and I want to. At least I think I can. I'm not sure. I think I've baked bread once before, exactly once before in my entire life. So I'm just gonna throw flour at the wall and see what sticks. In order to make this loaf of bread, we're going to need yeast, sugar, a lot of flour, and I do mean a lot of flour, salt, butter, and for this particular loaf, I'm also going to need shredded cheese and these Chef Paul's pizza and pasta magic spices. Let's make a giant mess. So first, into a cup of... I got the measurement wrong. I screwed it up. I'll have to start the whole thing over again. So first, into a quarter cup of warm water, I'm going to add about a half of one of these packets of active dry yeast. Then we're going to gently whisk this. Wait, I've forgotten an important step. Next, we add 1.5 teaspoons of our sugar. That's salt. These should really be labeled, but they're not. I know there's a 1/2 teaspoon that I could be using, but I like to just play fast and loose with the measurements, you know? Then we need to gently whisk this. And let this yeast-sugar mixture sit for 5 minutes. Ah, yes, the flour. This is the attachment we need. This is a dough hook. So there it is. We're gonna wanna take some kind of measuring cup, first of all. Normally there's one in there, but I think we may have put the flour in on top of the measuring cup, which is now all the way at the bottom of this giant container full of flour. This used to be a set of measuring cups, but the only one I actually currently have on hand is the 1/2 cup. 1 3/4 cups flour into this mixture. I'm vaguely following some notes that you could loosely call a recipe from the last time I baked bread. So that almost went off the countertop and I was very scared for a second there. 1/2 cup. Let me show you a little trick I picked up in NAM. That's a little over a cup. 1.5 cups. Would be so much easier if I had the 1/4 cup measuring cup, but I don't. That's all the flour I need. And we need a tablespoon. No, that would be a lot of salt. I need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now I have add the herbs written down here twice. I have the first one crossed out, but I don't know why, because honestly, I think it makes more sense the first time. So I'm going to take this Chef Paul's Herbal Pizza and Pasta Magic, and I'm just gonna put a whole bunch of it in there. This is going to give the bread a nice flavor, but it may make the dough absolute hell to work with. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. Now we need to add a cup of water, and I know what you're thinking. The only measuring cup you have is half a cup. But this is the second half cup. I just cut out the first one. And now we're going to mix all of these ingredients together for a while. Now here in this bastardization of a recipe, I did not specify for how long these are to be mixed. I've done nothing different except adding more herbs than last time. And this dough is much doughier than the last time I made bread. So I feel like maybe this seasoning is actually magic. Because last time I did this, it was not nearly this, like, it's formed a ball of dough on the dough hook. That's what's supposed to happen. That didn't happen last time. Okay, at this point, we're gonna stop the mixer, and I want you to see this. You probably still can't see it, but that's a lump of dough. So next, we want to mix the yeast. It's nice and foamy. That means the yeast is doing its job. It's awake, it's alive, it's yeast. We're gonna put this yeast into the mixer, and now I have a nasty, yeasty mixing cup, measuring cup. And now we're gonna bring back our star ingredient, the main thing that makes up bread. Yes, that's right, folks. We're bringing back the flour because almost 2 cups of flour is not enough. Another 1 3/4 cups flour. Bring back my knife I used in Vietnam. It's half a cup. That's a cup. That's a cup and a half. And that's a cup and 3/4. Now I should note, this container of flour was full to the top when I started. It's about half empty now. Also worth noting, this is not even the most flour we're going to be using because I have to heavily flour the countertop and my hands when I'm kneading this dough. And just to be on the safe side, I want to take this bread to Flavor Town. And we're going to lower the mixer back in. We're going to lock the mixer in place and we're going to mix. We're going to mix it. How long? It doesn't say. So I'm just going to guess that it's until it forms like a good cohesive ball of dough. Part of me wants to add just a little more water to help it along, but you know, I don't know. You know, but I don't. I have some concerns about this dough. Let me do just a little something to help it along. I hope this is not a mistake. This dough is suffering, though it is suffering less than it was before. That was the solution to my problem. Now we're gonna take this butter, 2 tablespoons butter. So it says 2 tablespoons. You'll notice that I'm cutting it at the 1 tablespoon mark if you have some sort of supervision. And that's because it says to add 1 tablespoon at a time. And now you're gonna hear some fat slapping. And that's what we want. I don't know why that's what we want, I just know we want this butter to soften up the dough, and when that happens, it's gonna kind of fall apart, and it's gonna make some nice, wet, meaty slaps against the inside of the mixing bowl. This smells amazing. My last loaf of bread didn't smell nearly this good. Now that our 1 tablespoon pat of butter is pretty much smeared all over the inside of the mixing bowl, let's take another tablespoon. I can never get teaspoons and tablespoons straight. Don't let me bake. We add the 2nd tablespoon of butter, and we're gonna get those slaps again. It is time, young bread. Now that's some nice dough. I am going to heavily, and I do mean heavily, flour both my hands and the countertop because this stuff gets sticky and I don't want to waste any of this precious, precious dough. See, I say it gets sticky because last time this stuff coated my hands. I think this time I may have actually done something right because this time we got a nice, smooth, soft, not very sticky dough. And now kneading the dough, a lot of people don't know how to properly knead dough. I didn't last time I made bread. I'm worried. How did I come by such good breadmanship? I think I may have put too much flour on my hands. I can bake! This is completely new to me. Last time I tried to make bread, this didn't happen. But this is what's supposed to happen. I'm genuinely concerned. Something is going right, and that's really weird. The next step says to butter a bowl. But I'm just gonna use butter flavored cooking spray. And then to place this lovely, lovely ball of dough, I am so proud and very scared, into the sprayed down bowl, and then flip it over, kind of roll it around, get that cooking spray all up on it. And then the next part of this step, my trusty plastic wrap, and spray it down, spray it with cooking spray so that it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to place it over this bowl and let that sit for 45 minutes. I'm legit afraid. I am afraid of this bread because it's gonna be good, well-made bread. I'm so scared. How is this happening? How have I actually, I'm making bread. I'm making bread. I've made bread before and it went okay, but it didn't go this well. I'm legit, I am afraid. Let me clean up the mixer. I am scared of this bread. It should not be going as well as it is. So the next step is to remove this. I will use this again later. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna invert that. Now we've got this nice, spongy, soft bottom to the bread dough. And what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna flatten it out as best we can. That's roughly a rectangle. And now what we want to do with this is we're going to fold it down like 2/3 of the way that way, and then we're going to fold it all the way up that way. Pinch and roll this together along that seam until we've got this burrito here. Do not eat this. This is not ready to eat yet. Roll it over so that our seam is right in the middle. And then we're gonna wanna bring the ends in. I have this loaf pan that I have liberated from use as a makeshift space heater due to a bad life hack. And I'm going to spray this down with cooking spray. And we're going to invert this into the loaf pan and kind of press it in, let it fill the bottom of the loaf pan. And then we're gonna leave this 45 minutes. Okay, now that we've let our worryingly competently made loaf of bread, was the next word in that sentence gonna be rise? Okay, so now that we've let our worryingly perfect loaf of bread rise for a bit, I'm gonna peel off this plastic wrap, and now we're going to top the bread. So what I like to do is I like to take a heaping handful, take this shredded cheese, and kind of sprinkle it on there liberally. And now, we sprinkle on the spicy pizza and pasta magic seasoning. I like to put the spicy stuff on top so that if somebody you're serving this bread to isn't like a huge fan of spicy foods, they can still eat it, you know, within reason. And there's our loaf of bread. Now the next step is to bake it at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes, and then reduce the temperature to 375 degrees and bake it for 45 minutes. Now that our loaf of bread has baked for 45 minutes, it's time to take it out of the oven. Very carefully, and also very quickly, turn it out of the pan. The next step is we want to take this melted butter, kind of brush it on, kind of glaze this loaf. Now, of course, the last step in this process is to let this bread cool down and then eat it. I'm absolutely loving the smell coming off of this loaf. I think I may have overdone the cheese. Now, we just gotta cut this bread. And I'm going to do the YouTube cooking channel style cross section, if I can even cut through this top layer of cheese. And there we go. Already, I'm just immediately smelling all of those wonderful herbs and spices inside the bread. Sawing through the top layer of cheese is like trying to cut through a football. Right off the bat, that top crust is very cheesy and spicy, very tasty, very good. And then you get into the bread itself, and it's just so full of delicious herbs. If you were to try and make a sandwich with this bread, I think the amount of flavor would kill you. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like the video, comment below, and subscribe. And if you want notifications whenever I post more videos like this, just click the little bell next to the subscribe button. This whole thing is kind of an experimental thing. You know, I've never done cooking videos before, but if you want to see more, just let me know in the comments. Right now, it's about 5:30 in the morning, so I'm gonna go to sleep. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.